Kayla Wright to say a few words for us this morning here. It is.
Good morning, everybody. So, I'd like to thank everyone for your patience on, we got the results back from Tom. We did that one long day of discussing what we think we should need and do around the church to grow. And the first step in what we should do is by creating a mission statement. So for the next 6 weeks or so, we're going to do a Bible study and discuss our missions and our core values. And then once we get feedback from the congregation, we're going to edit a rough draft and talk to the council, and then take it to the voters. Once we agree upon a mission, we're then going to go forth with a plan and also discuss with the council, and then also have this voted upon and hopefully help grow the church and come together. So, thank you.
I want to thank Melissa and Julie and Ron Miller and everybody else who has been helping out so far, especially with the process of the self-adjustment assessment. So for those of you who haven't been around for all of this, we are working through a little process as a congregation. The Wisconsin Synod calls it the self-assessment and adjustment process. Essentially, it's a process where we learn how to take a good, healthy review of our ministry and say what's good, what's bad, what can we be doing better, and then propose some changes that we might say, hey, we think these will help us be healthier together as a Christian body. And so we've been working through that process already for almost 5 months now. Time goes fast, doesn't it? And so the first part here is to do a little Bible study on what the mission is, the mission of God. And so we're going to start that today. It'll be real quick if you can bear with me. By real quick, I mean like 45 minutes, maybe an hour and a half. So, you know I can't say anything in less than 1,000 words. As you start in your service folder, you're going to see right at the end of the service there, as you keep going on, you'll see where there's some questions and answers for us to do as this Bible study. And so you can do it right in your own service folder. If your kids need to get up, by the way, and play, or if you're adults, if you need to get up and kind of wiggle, that's just fine. I won't say anything. But we are, just so you know, too, taking a little video recording of this so that if you are not here, you can catch up on it. Your audio and your visual is not in it. All that's in it is me. I know. Beautiful face, right? No, just kidding. But no, nobody else is in it, so you don't have to worry about being, publicized if you don't like that. It's just me. But we are taking a video of it. So quickly, find yourself there on your sheet. Give a characteristics of a task, a job, or a mission. Give it characteristics. What's a characteristic of a task? What's the characteristic of a job? And what's the characteristics of a mission? You can just say them to yourself if you say, oh, I really got this stuff down. Okay, got that? Why do you think it's important to keep the difference clear? Why is it important to keep the difference clear? Now, because there's so many of us, we're not really going to take open-ended answers out here. If you want to shout something out at me, you're certainly welcome to, but I will let you know when I'm looking for audience feedback and participation. But I guess we would all say something like, characteristics of a task are, it's a one-time thing, maybe a small event. You say, oh, we got to go do this task, and we're done. So it's a one-time thing. And we can maybe decide ourselves, or somebody else nearby assigns us that task. A job is a more ongoing. It's a regular activity that we have to participate, and other people might participate in it too. But a mission, man, a mission is the reason that you exist. A mission is the long-standing reason that something exists, and it's given from a higher authority. So now the question for us is, where does this mission come from? Where does the church's mission come from? Let me take you through a couple of quick Bible passages here. Would you read this with me? This is Joshua 22, verse 3. Can you everybody read this, please, with me? For a long time now, to this very day, you have not deserted your fellow Israelites, but have carried out the mission the Lord your God gave you. Here's another one, Acts 20:24, please. However, I consider my life worth nothing to me. My only aim is to finish the race and complete the task the Lord Jesus has given me, the task of testifying to the news of God's grace. Paul even describes his mission as a task, but what is unique here is both Paul and Joshua, who we looked at first, have very different missions, but both their missions came from the same person, didn't they? They both came from who? Well, you can see the last words. The Lord your God gave me. And if you look through the Bible, right, you're going to see that throughout the Bible, right, there are a number of different missions at different times in the Bible, but they all come from God. The church's mission does not come from the will of an individual or a congregation, even if there is great variety in what we think we should be doing. This was emphasized to me recently in this really interesting anecdote that I heard. So when early Lutherans came over from Germany, a lot of them settled around the St. Louis area. Okay, and then they spread out sort of from there. There weren't really a lot of them, though. And so when what's called the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, the Missouri Synod, as some of you might know, it was founded in about 1867, when it really kind of settled down. There were approximately 40,000 Lutherans in the Missouri Synod. Not a whole lot, really. Right? That church experienced exponential growth over the next 50 years. By the 1917s, the teen era, they had over 600,000 members. Can you imagine that kind of mission-mindedness? 50 years, over 1,000% growth. Impressive, huh? And they did the same thing with the number of churches. Now, what was really cool, was emphasized for me, is, of course, in 1961, there was a big historical event that caused the Missouri Synod and the Wisconsin Synod to separate and to stop working together, which really hurt Missouri's mission-mindedness. But God used it for an incredible thing for the Wisconsin Synod. Because up to that point, we had not been the mission-minded people. We were very slow and sluggish, and we were not reaching out to new people. But that kick in the pants that we got in the 60s helped a lot. Because in the 70s, our theme was every state by 78. And we did it almost. We were just like 2 states short. But because of what God did in the 60s and then into the 70s. See, the mission shifted from Missouri to us, but God's mission stayed the same, and he just passed it on to a different group of people. It was a really cool illustration for me to take this home. Now, the question then is, well, what's the mission statement of any congregation focus on? What do you want to focus on? With the people around you, take a moment and list at least 5 miracles of Jesus. You got some space on the sheet there. List 5 miracles of Jesus. I bet you can come up with a lot. This is a good example of why you need community. If you're sitting by yourself, it's hard to do this with people around you. All right, so you probably came up with a whole bunch of miracles of Jesus. He heals the sick, he raises the dead, walking on water, feeding the 5,000, all of those kinds of things. Now the question is that how Jesus describes his mission? Does he describe his mission in that way? How would you say Jesus described his mission? There's a couple Bible passages for us to look at. Luke 19:10, can you read this one with me, please? For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. Or here we go, Mark 10:45. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. What's the point here? We got all of these blanks. Jesus had one mission, didn't he? To save sinners. But he did that in a variety of tasks. He did a lot of different tasks, but it all came back to the one mission. And so a mission statement is going to focus this group of people on the most important thing, but it still leaves room, doesn't it, for many tasks? That's a vital thing of a healthy, good mission statement, is it leaves space to carry out the task in different ways. And a lot of you probably know the story of Sears. Do you know what this building is? What's this building? Will's Tower. This is the Sears Tower. Do you know the story of the Sears Tower? It's really interesting. I learned this the other day, right? So Sears was obviously one of the most innovative companies in America throughout the 1900s. And this is cool, it just stuck with me. From small stores in small towns to big stores in downtowns in the 1920s, to a thriving catalog business for smaller outposts, the main way America shopped right through the 1950s and 60s. And then the switch to anchor stores and shopping malls through the late 70s, Sears was always on the move, changing with the times. Right? So Sears carried out its mission in a lot of different ways, and people will tell you that. And that what happened, though, is 70s and the 80s, right? it stopped evolving, and it got stuck. And one of the ways it got stuck was right here. They spent millions of dollars in the 70s and the 80s building the Sears Tower. And experts will tell me, I don't know, I found this out, that most people think that's one of the big things. And so they say things like this, that while fledgling new retailers like Walmart, Kohl's, Kmart, and Target, that sound familiar, huh? Were hard at work establishing a foothold in the hearts, minds, and wallets of the American consumer, the nation's dominant retailer was busy building the world's tallest building. And then the retailer stopped evolving. That while Walmarts and Targets of the world recognized the value of moving away from shopping centers and opening massive spaces in strip malls where customers could park right in front of the store, Sears stayed in the mall. Sears is the classic example for us in America now of how to lose focus on your mission and get stuck on the tasks. And we, in the same way, need to learn that lesson, that point, don't we? That the mission statement focuses on the most important thing and leaves room for many tasks. So here's what I'd like to ask you just to do this week. As you go home, pray about what the heart of the task is. What's the heart of the task? Because that's what we're going to focus on next week. God bless you this week. Be sure to say goodbye to you on your way out, and be sure to say hello to other people. See if you can find a community to get into. See you next week.